China's $1 trillion gamble. Belt and Road Initiative. Imagine spending $1 trillion. Now imagine doing it across 150 countries, on ports, highways, power plants, and railways. That's what China did. It called this massive effort, the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. It was a bold dream. A $1 trillion risk. And now, more than a decade later, the world is still asking. Was it worth it? The big launch. Back in 2013, when President Xi Jinping first introduced the BRI, the world took notice. The idea sounded grand: rebuild the old Silk Road for the modern world. But this time, not just through Asia. It would stretch across continents. The goal? Create smooth trade routes that tied countries together. With China at the center. Roads, rails, ports, and energy grids would connect the globe. But this wasn't just about trade. It was about gaining global presence, building long-term relationships, and creating new paths to power. The reasons behind it all. 1. Influence across borders. China wanted to strengthen its global presence, especially in countries that needed infrastructure. It wasn't just about helping. It was about creating ties. Ties that brought political support, and sometimes silence on controversial issues. 2. Boosting Chinese industry. At home, China's economy was slowing. Its construction companies and steel factories had more capacity than they needed. The BRI gave them international contracts, helping them grow beyond China's borders. 3. Safer supply routes. Most of China's trade moves through sea lanes dominated by the U.S. Navy. By investing in inland railways and overland corridors, China wanted alternatives, routes it could rely on during uncertain times. 4. A kinder global image. China also wanted to show the world a different kind of leadership. One that didn't rely on wars or sanctions, but on bridges, roads, and power plants. Infrastructure, not interference. When the plan worked. Not all parts of the BRI ended in disaster. In fact, many brought real changes. Pakistan saw new energy projects light up towns that had lived in darkness for years. Highways made long drives shorter. The Orange Line metro gave people faster commutes. Laos, once isolated, now has a $6 billion railway linking it to China. It's not just a track. It's a lifeline for trade and tourism. Indonesia completed Southeast Asia's first bullet train. Jakarta to Bandung now takes less than an hour. That's the kind of change people feel every day. Greece's Piraeus port, taken over by a Chinese company, turned from a quiet port into one of the busiest in the region. Jobs came back. Ships returned. Kenya and Ethiopia got modern railways that made trade smoother, faster, and more reliable. These were not just blueprints on paper, they were visible, usable projects. In these places, China didn't just promise. It delivered. But not everything went right. Even the biggest plans have flaws. And when you spread $1 trillion across 150 countries, some problems are bound to follow. Debt worries. In Sri Lanka, the Hambantota port didn't bring enough business. When debt piled up, they handed the port to China on a 99-year lease. Zambia struggled to pay for new infrastructure. Now, it's deep in debt and negotiating with Chinese lenders. Montenegro built a highway that stopped halfway, no connection, no revenue, just growing debt. Cancelled or delayed projects. Malaysia cancelled over $20 billion worth of BRI projects before renegotiating for better terms. Myanmar halted a massive dam project after public protests. Sierra Leone scrapped its China, backed airport, saying the benefits didn't justify the cost. Corruption and poor planning. Some projects were rushed. Others lacked transparency. In a few places, roads led nowhere, ports sat empty, and railways had too few passengers. Local communities began to ask, who really benefits from this? Paper promises versus real results. China often says that over 150 countries are part of the BRI. But not all partnerships are equal. Most of these countries only signed memorandums of understanding, MOUs, simple agreements, not guarantees of investment. Only about 40 to 50 countries received large-scale projects. Why sign it all? Some wanted to stay in China's good books. Others hoped for future deals. A few just wanted to make a political statement. But in the end, many were left with expectations, not results. Countries that gained the most. Here are countries where the BRI clearly made an impact. Pakistan, energy, roads, and connectivity through CPEC. Laos, a complete railway system connecting to China. Indonesia, a high-speed rail that changed daily travel. Ethiopia and Kenya, railway links that made trade easier. Greece, a port-turned powerhouse. Bangladesh, new bridges and rail lines. Kazakhstan, rail hubs connecting east to west. These projects weren't just announcements, they're active, used, and improving lives. Countries that paid the price. Not every country feels it came out ahead. Sri Lanka, lost control of a port amid growing debt. Zambia, now in deep debt negotiations. Montenegro, built part of a highway, can't afford the rest. Italy, joined the BRI in 2019, left in 2024. Almost no benefit. Tanzania, a port project stalled for years. These countries hoped for transformation. Instead, they got uncertainty and economic pressure. A rising tide of pushback. China's growing influence didn't go unnoticed. India never joined BRI. It saw the plan as a threat. The United States and EU raised concerns about debt traps and lack of transparency. The G7 launched a new global plan PGI as an alternative to the BRI. Italy, once a proud partner, stepped away after finding little to show for its involvement. Slowly, the narrative changed from "China is helping" to "China is buying influence." Questions inside China too. Back home, not everyone cheered for the BRI. Economists and citizens began asking tough questions. Couldn't $1 trillion have fixed problems inside China, like healthcare, aging, and real estate crises, rural poverty? What if these loans don't get paid back? What happens if countries blame China when things go wrong? The government began saying less about BRI. The excitement quieted. Reality set in. The bigger picture. Was it worth it? From China's perspective, it gained allies and global recognition. It offered an alternative to Western-led development. It showed that it could lead big, bold projects. But it also faced backlash. Many countries are in debt distress. Some projects didn't deliver. Trust in China's intention started to erode. Even so, the BRI did something big. It reshaped global infrastructure development. It challenged the status quo. And it forced the West to wake up and compete. A gamble that's still playing out. The Belt and Road Initiative is not over. It's evolving. Some countries are expanding their partnerships. Others are cutting ties or renegotiating deals. China is adjusting its strategy, more cautious, more calculated. But one thing is clear, the world will never be the same again. Closing line. This isn't just about roads or railways. It's about what kind of world we're building, and who gets to lead that journey. The Belt and Road story isn't finished. It's still being written. One country. One contract. One consequence at a time.